The purpose of this video is to talk about my favorite activity in English 111, or at least an activity that's in the top 5. We're going to call it sentence threads, but the framework that we're using is known to new sequencing. Okay, so let's talk about what we're doing here. I want you to be able to define known to new sequencing. I want you to be able to identify the structure of known to new sequencing so that you can use it. And before then, so that if you're seeing writing, especially in paragraphs, and you notice it, I don't know, I think that would feel so exciting to be able to say, oh, hey, this person used known to new sequencing to make their paragraph flow. And of course, my goal is that you can use this type of pattern writing to be able to write sentence sequences that use known to new sequencing. Okay, so let's talk about what it is. This is a pattern of sequencing or stringing sentences together that incorporates what was just previously stated in the sentence right before the one you're writing. That is what your reader knows when before they go and move into a new sentence, they know what they've just read. So you begin there when you write a new sentence, and then you present something new for them to read within that sentence. And now what you present that is new becomes known, and they continue to read where they hear the final thing you've said. You start and you use it to lead into what's next. So let's take a look at an example that walks us through cat, table, and vase. And before we look at this example, the examples we will look at and even the examples that we will practice are very rudimentary. They're quite simplistic. This doesn't mean that your writing has to sound this simplistic, but as we're building this skill, let's just start small. Okay, so let's take a look at the example here. The first sentence says, when I was 12, I had a cat. Okay, when your reader reads that first sentence, they know when you were 12, you had a cat. So what is known is you had a cat. In your next sentence, you're going to start with that known fact and then present something new. So let's read the next sentence. My cat would always sit on the table. Okay, we knew already when we started reading this sentence that you had a cat. Now we know something new about the cat. They sit on the table. Okay, so now what we know, what we've just established, is the cat sits on the table. So we're going to begin with what we know in order to present something new. This table also almost always had a vase on top. So again, in the third sentence, we knew there was a table. We already knew that. We read that in the second sentence. What is the new piece of information? There was a vase on the table. Now, we could continue this and we could think about what this cat is probably going to do with this vase. But this is the process of known to new sequencing. In its extremely simple form, it can sound repetitive. But once you practice it, you'll learn how to level up your language and use synonyms to avoid too much repetition. So let's take a look at a strung together sequence of how it's really working. Again, age 12 is something that we must have known when we started. Some new information from that first sentence is there was a cat. Now the cat in our second sentence, it's not new information anymore. It is now known. It is known. And then the new information is table. As we move into the final sentence, table becomes what is known, and vase becomes what is new. Oftentimes, the known information is what starts the sentence, and the new information is what ends the sentence. Now, let's see if you can practice this. So, I want you to pause the video in just a second, and I want you to try and string 5 sentences together where the first sentence introduces the noun potato, and the last sentence introduces the noun tree. So potato will be in the first sentence. It will be what is known at first. Your second sentence will use what is known to present something new, but you won't get to the tree until your fifth sentence. So pause the video, try it out, and see what you can come up with. Okay, assuming that you paused the video, I wonder how it went for you. I'm going to show you what I came up with when I was creating these slides. I know someone who will randomly say potato. His potato outbursts have become slightly humorous. The funniest one happened in a movie theater. The movie showing was The Lord of the Rings, and my friend loved Samwise Gamgee. As soon as Sam said, boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew, my friend shouted potato, and I rushed out of the theater, doubled over laughing, and had to prop myself up against a tree. Okay, so let's talk about this sentence sequence that I came up with. I have a couple of points to make, but first let's just identify the known to new structure. So the first sentence, we establish what is known, this word potato. And then you can see the very next sentence reminds the reader what they already know. They know potato. And they establish something new and connect to that. So these potatoes become funny. Now we know potato and we know that it's funny. We then take what we know and use it in our third sentence to connect to something new. So the funniest one, right? We talked about humor. I used a synonym to vary my language. I say the funniest one happened in a movie theater. Okay, here's the new information. Now we're in a movie theater. So we'll take what's new as we lead into our fourth sentence. We'll start with that, the movie showing, and then we'll present new information. We've got Lord of the Rings and Samwise Gamgee. All right, what do we know? We know Samwise Gamgee. So we're going to start our sentence, and you can see here, it doesn't have to be the very first word, but somewhere in the beginning of the sentence, I say, as soon as Sam said. So we have established Sam. He's not coming out of nowhere. He is there. We've already made him work into the sentence structure of this little paragraph, this little story. As soon as Sam said, boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew, my friend shouted potato. I rushed out of the theater laughing and had to prop myself up against a tree. Okay, so the last sentence is doing a lot of things here. It doesn't necessarily have to do all of these things. However, I think I needed probably a few more sentence strings to get all the way to tree. So I tried to shove everything into one sentence. And that's okay. I mean, I wrote a relatively compound, complex sentence. It's no problem. And your sentences can look like this as well. If you just, by the time you're on sentence 5, if you need to figure out how am I going to connect this to a tree, that's okay. But what I think that this is actually doing pretty well is reminding my reader on my way to getting to that final noun, to getting to tree, I'm reminding my reader of everything that we know. We've got Sam, we've got potato, we've got a movie theater, we've got humor, and finally we have tree. Again, you do not have to reconnect every single new thing that is now known, but you can, and I did. So there's my example. If at any point you want to share your example, you want to email it to me, I would be happy to post those in the class and talk more about them with everyone. So let's talk about why this matters. It kind of seems a little silly if you aren't an English teacher and you haven't ever practiced known to new sequencing, but a lot of students, when they first talk about writing, they say, I don't know how to make my writing flow. This is the basic strategy in starting to work with the flow of language. Sequencing helps maintain that flow because there's no big jump, there's no large gap. Your reader is never left wondering, like, hold on, you were talking about this. how did you get all the way to this other topic? There's no surprises with known to new sequencing. And you don't really, unless you're entertaining your reader and you're writing fiction, you probably don't want surprises in academic writing. I know that's a little less exciting than it could be, but that's what we're going for. Is just simplicity. You again do not have to sequence every sentence as directly as these activities are designed to have you practice. You can, of course, work with complex sentences like you saw in my example. You can work with synonyms, and that can help your sentences not sound, again, so repetitive. Okay. So if you have any questions about this, whether you have questions now after watching this video, whether you have questions as you are working on the activity itself, please email me. It's never a problem.